It's Monday night, and you know what that means. Jersey First TV proudly brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist. I mean, can't you tell behind me? I mean, I'm running out of space here in this house with all these awards, as well as Top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit Online magazine for 2020, 2021, and now in 2022. And once again, folks, another award coming my way. I might have to just get some contractors and just widen this living room. I don't know what to do. And lastly, the Garden State's most beloved and factually accurate conservative. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe. Shout out to who are great Father's Day weekend to enjoy with them. Obviously, when to all the dads out there working so hard and being the best dads that they can. Even to some of the single moms out there who got to play both roles. Again, shout out to everyone on Father's Day, and I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Just as a reminder, folks, from last week to this week, and let me just have a tea right here for my New York Yankees, because guess what? Who has the best record in baseball? Yeah, it's not that team from Queens. It's that team from the Bronx. I'm going to have a little victory here. Yes, because we all know the Yankees run New York, folks. And in all seriousness, I'm looking forward to a Subway Series later this October. But a lot of baseball to be. I want to thank you for joining us here first, and also on Facebook Live via StreamYard. Make sure you check out Jersey First TV at their website, www.jerseyfirst.org. That's www.jersey1st.org. Make sure you like Jersey First on Facebook and follow them on both Instagram and Twitter. Check out my own Instagram at NoFilterUribe, Uribe, and also on Twitter at NoFilterUribe. Again, handles are the same. Make sure you like Real Talk with Fernando Uribe on Facebook. And certainly, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you like Jersey First TV as well. Folks, a lot to cover here. Stick around, because at the end of the show, I will select the worst journalist of the week here in New Jersey. You definitely want to stick around for that. I'll have plenty to say about this guy who's now a repeat winner here. You definitely don't want to miss out on that. But folks, one of the reasons this show continues to do well traffic-wise, not just dozens of views, not just hundreds of views, but I'm talking about thousands and thousands of views every single week. And of course, it's due largely to all of you at home, my loyal viewing audience that watch live here every Monday night. Again, a special start time tonight at 7 p.m. We'll go back to our regular 6 p.m. next week. But folks, candidates, advocates, journalists, everyone across the political spectrum on the right, on the left, and everyone in between. That's why this show continues to do well and draw great traffic, folks, because of amazing guests. And this week is no exception. She is a distinguished councilwoman at large in Hudson County's largest city and a fellow member of the evil empire. Yes, Yankees Nation, folks. My good friend, the great Amy DeGise, joins us here tonight on Real Talk. Amy, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. I love that we're matching pink, folks. Just to let you know, this was not planned. Okay, we just love pink. Of course, you know me. I'm a big philanthropist. I love breast cancer awareness, and I'll be doing that. Obviously, any color looks. How's everybody doing, Amy? Well?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Sorry, I don't know if my Wi-Fi cut out for a second. Of course, great timing, but no, everything is well, busy and crazy, just like everyone else is. How are you?
All right. Listen, very busy. Grateful to have great traffic every week. And, listen, I'm probably your favorite conservative, Amy, maybe the only conservative you like. But we always have great conversations. So let's get right to it here. In the headlines right now, certainly a topic that is generating a lot of debate, mostly in Hudson County because it's so blue, like Windex, basically. But I think this goes beyond politics, Amy. It's Liberty State Park is in really the bullseye of a lot of politicians, activists, journalists, everyone has a lot to say today about what's going on in Liberty State Park. Let's do our audience a favor right now at home. Let's separate fact from fiction, the heart of the matter when it comes to Liberty State Park.
Well, I don't know a lot of the whole fiction part just yet, but I think that the bill that was introduced by our, very own Senator Stack and backed up by Senator Sacco and Cunningham would offer some, I think it's $250 million worth of upgrades to the state park. And, being a Jersey City resident and traveling the park often, that is a gem in our county. And I do understand that, there has to be a lot of delicacy in handling this. I do agree that, it'll bring some recreational amenities that the park is lacking. Some fields, some athletic fields, a concession stand, community space that I think is great. But I think the apprehension with the, communities that aren't supportive of this bill would be that it's opening a door to creating partnerships with revenue generators that they don't necessarily want to see in this park. And you could definitely understand that. The way that it was presented by Senator Stack was really to maintain and upgrade a lot of the scenic and wildlife habitats and kind of, bring some maintenance to it to allow for ball fields and some more recreational spaces. I think that the bill, it would force a task force to, work with the community and other people, which I think should help the people who are against it know that they'll be included in the public process of this, that, they'll be heard, they'll be on record, they'll have to sit before a committee. Hopefully the Department of Environmental Protection is involved as well, because their plans for the park look a little bit different than, the projected claims of an amphitheater and things like that. I don't know if that's definitive or if people are just kind of assuming that amphitheaters and stadiums will come. I do think, and I agree with Assemblyman Raj Mukherjee, that there does have to be some protection in here too. Conservation is key. We don't want any of our parks or recreational spaces to be revenue generators. But you do know as a taxpayer that, when you can generate revenue, it's less that's coming out of your taxpayer pocket. So you have to be delicate there. But, just seeing some of the language and, planting some oyster beds and remediating contaminated areas, I think that that's a really nice step in the right direction. I think that it's gotten a lot of union support, which is always important to me, that the unions are behind this. But, groups like the Friends of Liberty State Park and Sam Pessin, I do understand their apprehension that, you crack open that door and all of a sudden, what are you leading in? But I think that it's definitely going to highlight Hudson County. And that's always a goal of mine, even not as chair anymore, still a goal of mine to highlight Hudson County and Jersey City. So I do hope that they, ensure that the master plan has public input, and a lot of different venues for the community to provide feedback and not agree to things that they're uncomfortable with.
Amy, and folks, by the way, if you just joined us right now, it's 7:10 here on the East Coast. Sharing is caring. Just click that button right there on your Facebook and share it on your newsfeed right now. As Councilwoman at Large in Jersey City, Amy DeGise joins us here tonight on Real Talk via Jersey for Amy. Amy, you mentioned State Senator Stack, and we'll get to him a little bit later because there's also another bit of news we also have to discuss. But, he's also my mayor and state senator. And one thing I know about Brian specifically is that Brian's one of those fiscally conservative Democrats. He wants to be able to stretch as much as he can with the dollar, be generous with his constituents, but also not go crazy like some economic illiterates we have in the legislature, right? I'm always rallying against that. But what's interesting, though, about this bill, and you brought it up, is the idea that everyone has an opinion now about what to do with Liberty State Park. I enjoy going there. I go every October. As you know, I'm dedicated to making strides against breast cancer. I love doing the breast cancer walk. Other charitable, organizations that do walks there, I love going. But this is the thing, though, Amy, and, you brought up a point where taxpayers oftentimes are, well, hey, if my taxes aren't getting raised and we're going to be doing a revenue generator there, what do I care? It's not about that. To your point about Assemblyman Mukherjee, let's conserve what we can about Liberty State Park. It's very scenic, right? It is great for bicycling. It's great for running. It's great for picnics. But listen, I also don't want it to become like Central Park in Manhattan. There's some things there. There's a body of water that's great. You can whatever the case may be. I just don't know, Amy, if we're going to be able to appease every single person that has a dog in this fight when it comes to, hey, let's build some basketball courts. Let's make it attractive for people to go and let's say play sports. The idea of building an amphitheater or some sort of stadium, no offense, ladies and gentlemen, have we forgotten the disaster on Route 3 and how long it took to get the American Dream Mall up and running? I mean, this is going back to the days of Johnny Dollars, Amy. Johnny Corzine was governor, okay? And then, of course, we had 8 years of Christie. Now we're going to have 8 years of Murphy. Like, it's one of those things where I'm concerned about projects like this. It can go south real quick.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that that's why, especially Assemblyman McCurdy wants to see the protection language in there. He wants to know that the habitat and wildlife is not going to be, adjusted at all, hurt at all. He wants to see renewable energy source, and he wants to ensure public input. And I think that that's important. There's obviously upgrades to be made, but again, you're opening that door. How far is it going to open? So I think that, generating a task force from this bill will definitely be eye-opening for the community who does want new recreational spaces, but they want to make sure that they're always going to be open for the public and not for a fee.
That ugly F word, fee. We always worry, Amy, because let's think back almost 30 years ago when Newport Center Mall was built, right? Oh my God, great. We're going to have a mall in downtown Jersey City. Parking, and guess what? We heard that ugly F word, fee, whether it was parking or something else. We see it at the American Dream Mall out in East Rutherford. There's a fee to go and shop there, right? In that sort of conundrum of that eyesore that is the Meadowlands, right? You got that ballpark across the street where I think two USFL teams play. I don't know, maybe. But the point is that I think residents get very leery about fees and what that goes towards, and how long will this project take? And listen, we have a great catering hall in that complex, right? The name escapes me. I know Rob Menendez Jr. had a fundraiser there recently. It'll come to me. But the point is you have that great venue. You have other amenities there. I'm just really concerned. I think because I've got a lot of emails from people, hey, Fernando, man, you got a loud voice, man. Stand up against anything being built on this land. But again, we've seen what Liberty Science Center has done for Liberty State Park. What a great venue that is. It's still reasonably priced to go to. Again, as fellow educators and teachers, right, respectively you and I, we see the benefits of something like Liberty Science Center. I can see where some amenities make sense. I just don't want to, like everything else, it becomes overkill. And before you know it, there's hardly any conservation left. And then what do we do from there, Amy?
Yeah, exactly. And then in some cases, it's too late. You can't decide to be, conserving your environment and be sustainable after you open it to widespread development. So they do have to be really careful with the language that they use. And I think rolling things out little by little to make sure that the community and the environment there is not negatively, impacted. And then you also have to consider, I'm all for new athletic fields and ball fields that they don't have, but then you take into account maintaining them. And the cost of that would, inevitably raise taxes on New Jersey residents. So you do have to have some sort of give back. It's just, I think that we have to be really delicate with that and very fair. I'm happy that they were already, saying no to a casino. But other development, I think that everyone should lay out their cards and see, what is their vision for the park, and allow the community, the legislators, and the Department of Environmental Protection to have a say in that.
It's funny you bring up the word casino, because let's be honest, 5 years ago on a referendum on the ballot, a lot of New Jerseyans felt, hey, there's the American Dream Mall should be finished soon, right? The idea that maybe the Hard Rock franchise was going to come to the Meadowlands, set up shop there, set up a hotel and or casino. Hey, a lot of people felt, hey, I don't have to travel 2 hours to Atlantic City. I don't have to even travel an hour to Empire Casino out in Yonkers or anything, or even out to Pennsylvania. I can just go to Route 3, right? I can do something productive, in the Meadowlands, because God knows from September to January, there's nothing going on there. So go to the casino. But that was soundly defeated in 2017. It seems like 5 years later, nothing's really changed, I think, for residents when it comes to amenities that could attract visitors from all over the tri-state area, if not up and down the East Coast. So a casino doesn't seem to be something that's popular. In your mind, an amphitheater, maybe a small minor league ballpark for minor league baseball? If it was up to Amy DeGise, what would she like to see there?
Definitely more recreational spaces, more, so we can encourage the community to stay healthy and do it for free. Some new ball fields would be great. Concession stands, some space for some food trucks, and places to relieve your dog or your children in the heat with some showers, some sensory things. Amphitheaters are beautiful. And I think when you can have that kind of space and you've ever, seen that, it's very nice, but it has to be community led. And I think that they have to kind of dictate that local artists will be able to use it. And having something like a big major stadium or revenue producer, that is scary when you think of the traffic that could be involved in that, what it would do to the land. And then also if you're going to estimate that many people coming in for an event, you have to find parking, and that kind of takes up some of that rec space. So I think that we should have a commuter park or something that families that close by are walking to or taking mass transit to, and not necessarily going there to take up space to park, which would take away from some of the recreational activities.
Amy, you've been up by me in North Hudson. You see what a beautiful venue the Union City Performing Arts Center is at Union City High School. Is that something you'd like to see maybe at Liberty State Park, at the Hudson County Performing Pack? Or is that something, that's taking up too much space? Could it just create a bottleneck of traffic, right? We're hearing all this chatter about, extending the turnpike on 78 to get into, is that a good idea? A Performing Arts Center would really benefit Hudson County residents? Or again, is that something that's still a little tricky in your mind?
I would definitely like to see a little bit more feedback on that, and maybe some research on, the downsides of having theaters like that. To me, it's appealing. And I think that we have so many local artists that can perform shows and, just kind of display our diversity and how, artistic our community is. I wouldn't want it to be ran through, a Ticketmaster kind of portal or a platform that's going to, try and bring in big names. We don't need the big names here. I don't mind traveling and seeing them outside of Hudson County. So I would like it to be a local, kind of artistic venue. But if it's, the idea is to bring in big acts and have tickets sold online, that's not really going to be community friendly.
You're absolutely right. Listen, we have down by the shore, right on Parkway, we have that concert venue. The name escapes me right now. Damn it! They have some great acts there. It'll come. The PNC, the PNC Arts Center. Yeah. We also have the Bergen Pack in County. We have the SoPac and Essex. There are a lot of different alternatives. So I think you're right. But we maybe don't need that right now. Staying on in Liberty State Park, I know that another big topic, Amy, has been the fact of a new STEM high school, right? To some extent, I know that as an educator at the high school level in Hudson County, again, we're both educators, but we always like to see new buildings being erected. But there's also some chatter about whether or not this is a good idea to do it on the grounds of Liberty State Park of a new STEM, I think, high school, right? Yeah. So let's separate fact from fiction. We already have high tech, right? That's a new high tech building in Secaucus. We have the high-tech building that's in North Bergen now, which will become the new high school. Do residents in Hudson County need that new STEM school on the grounds of Liberty State Park?
I think it's going to be a tremendous asset. I work for the schools of technology at the county level, so this would be, kind of under my umbrella. And I think we run fantastic schools, County Prep High School, High Tech High School, and Explore Middle School, and other numerous programs. But they're ran really well. And I think here, the partnerships that the school is involved in, not just the Liberty Science Center and their brain trusts of geniuses that are there, but the partners that they have that are going to put incubators and, little villages for people to be traveling doctors and traveling researchers, traveling scientists. And it's surrounding some great educational initiatives, not just STEM, but things that are in-demand occupations. And projected high employment throughout the entire county and state for the next decade. So I think that that's great to have that here for our youth. I know that or I believe it was not written in stone how many seats Jersey City would be given, but they're going to be given the lion's share of seats here. And I think the Jersey City high schools, they're not able to update their facilities. I don't know. I don't think funding is coming through anytime soon for a brand new high school facility. So it's a great, addition to give to the Jersey City residents and to all people in Hudson County. I've been a part of some of the curriculum design, some of the business partners, a lot of, homegrown businesses that want to teach others sustainability, and just kind of working with the community. So I think it's going to be a fantastic program.
Wait and see for sure. Very interesting word you used there, the line. Coming up in a moment, folks, we're going to talk about that. But Amy, let's get to politics here. Last week, I believe, was the reorg meeting for the Hudson County Democratic Organization. And let me just go through a little bit of a chronology here and a timeline for our viewers at home about Hudson County politics. So at the start of the year, after the news broke about redistricting and what the 32nd legislative district is going to look like next year, what the 33rd is going to look like next year, it's being, not reported, it's already official, that the 33rd legislative district, which right now currently is comprised of Union City, the town of Weehawken, the city of Hoboken, the Jersey City Heights, and downtown Jersey City, will now be sort of split up a little bit, where the 32nd legislative district will now be comprised of the city of Hoboken and downtown Jersey City and the Jersey City Heights. Now, the new 33rd next year will be still Union City and Weehawken, but now they're moving into what used to be the old 32nd, which is also includes West New York, Guttenberg, North Bergen, and Secaucus. The old 32nd with towns like Edgewater, I believe Fairview. I've moved into, I believe, the Bergen County districts. But the point is that obviously the 31st legislative district now looks a little bit different. It'll still have the city of Bayonne and the south side of Jersey City, but it'll also have the city of Kearney. And I believe that the townships of Harrison and East Newark are now going to be moving into Essex County legislative districts. But again, at the start of the year, obviously it was going to be known that state senators Stack and Sacco, which are comprised, within Union City and North Bergen, were on a collision course. Now, everyone knows I'm a Brian Stack boy. I have no problem saying this because I can say this. Sacco was not going to go after Stack. He was not going to challenge him. That would have been foolish. I think we all know that Mayor and State Senator Stack arguably has the best ground game in not just Hudson County, I would say in the state of New Jersey. I don't say that just because Brian's a fellow member of Cowboys Nation and we're buddies. However, Amy, realistically, that wasn't going to turn out very well for Nick Sacco. It's as simple as that. I know you're not going to say it out loud. I can say it. People that I talk to, countywide, Fernando, you're right about this, so I'll just sort of go on this. But when they met up and decided to sort of come to an agreement, it's my understanding that State Senator Sacco, State Senator Stack, Hudson County Commissioner Chairman Veneri, Mayor Richard Turner, Mayor Gabriel Rodriguez all met up and came to this agreement. Now, I just put it in my notes here. State Senator Sacco will not challenge State Senator Stack next year in a primary. Ultimately, he'll retire from the state Senate. He will come out and endorse State Senator Stack next year when he runs in the primary. Now, part of this agreement apparently was Mayor and State Senator Sacco currently wanted to have a say in one of the assembly seats in the new 33rd. He was going to allow the other assembly seat to be decided upon by Mayor Richard Turner and West New York Mayor Gabriel Rodriguez. Subsequently, also in this deal was that Sacco wanted Anthony Veneri to be the new HCDO chair. Obviously, pushing you out, and subsequently, when the reorg would come, he'd be the guy that the HCDO would want to push forward as the new chairperson. Anything wrong in my timeline the way I explained it?
No, but I do think that more of the conversation wasn't around is Sack and Sacco going to run against each other in the battle there, but the message that sent from Trenton, and the other people who were supportive of the redistricting maps of why are you trying to start a battle or a civil war here? we've come a long way and we've remained a really united, strong front. And that has changed a lot, down in Trenton, in matters of resources.
And Amy, real quick, I'm sorry, I'll let you finish. I'm sorry, but let's be fair. The way we looked at Nicholas Sacco and Brian Steck, they were the Lions of Hudson County for over 2 decades. So these were 2 very influential legislators. And for some reason, it seemed like some in Trenton really, in my opinion, wanted to weaken Hudson County. And I think that they did that by this redistricting. Again, no, I'm not shaded at the committee, but it seems modus operandi there. Am I wrong? And I'll let you finish.
No, absolutely. And that was the message that a lot of us here took. We understood we had to be redistricted. We understood population had changed, but it looked like a lot of care was given to other counties on maintaining, their kind of structure and their leadership. And with us, it was, let's let those 2 lions fight. And thankfully, the 2 lions said, we're not doing this. We finally got everything together. We finally feel like a powerhouse down in Trenton. Hudson is a united front. We have, we care about our local communities, and those 2 hands down care. I know that they carry a lot of power and influence, but it's because of the passion that they have for their communities. And instead of saying, okay, who's going to line up with who? What elected officials are going to line up with me? What unions, what donors? Let's split everybody up and get them fighting and cause a war. They said, we obviously need to be a little bit more aggressive on the Trenton end, which I had proclaimed even on your podcast was not my strongest suit. I enjoy and felt really comfortable at the local level. It was very hard to wrap my head around a lot of the statewide stuff. Was not able to develop those powerful relationships from the long-term chairs and what they had in their counties. So it felt like a new direction may have been needed. 2 terms is, a good amount of time to serve as Hudson County chair and to survive. But, it was let's kind of take a different approach now on this wider scale for the statewide. Are they coming for Hudson?
Amy, I was disappointed because I felt that, again, when you became chair in June of 2018, I'll never forget that really hot, sweaty day. No disrespect to County Mayor Al Santos, great guy. He's been a guest on my Talking Hudson podcast. But man, that was a sweaty, hot day in that cafeteria. And I know you, and I remember I interviewed right upon you winning. I was actually at the first interview you did upon winning. So that's why I'm always grateful to you for believing in my media brand. But I was really surprised because later that year, you rolled up your sleeves, you went to work. You got U.S. Senator Robert Menendez an enormous amount of votes in Hudson County in an election year where, let's be honest, it was a midterm. The Democrats took the House, which was expected, right? More on that later. But, there was a Senate seat that was competitive in New Jersey, and you got the vote out for Senator Menendez. You got the vote out for U.S. representatives, obviously, up here in Hudson County, for Al Sierras, for Donald Payne, collectively. And then, obviously, in the following years for legislative races, you got vote out. You got the voter turnout. I'll be honest, again, I know you're going to take the high road here, but I was disappointed that nobody really fought, in my opinion, for you to keep you as chair because you did a good job. Again, we're educators, so for me, part of my day job is to grade people. I have to give you a grade of an A, not because you're my friend. I'm objective here. I have to give you a grade of an A. You did everything you possibly could as chair of the ACDO, and they still didn't want to keep you. As far as, again, you're going to take the high road. I was deeply disappointed because I think you did a great job, but I'm sure that was not the best news to get.
Well, it wasn't really geared like that. It wasn't like something was being taken away. It was, this is the direction that the party needs to take, kind of, are you up for it? And, being on council now, the plate feels a little bit smaller, and knowing that our initiatives do need to go more statewide and to, kind of protect our reputation and our influence down there, I really wasn't the person for it, so it wasn't anything that was ripped out of my hands and I was begging for it. It was, 2 terms. I felt like I did a good job. There were things that I wish I could have done more of, but sure. I'm still a part of the organization. Now Chair Vanieri is really supportive of a lot of the caucuses and work that we started, and I think is dependent on, myself and other people to continue this work, because if he's going to launch, statewide, he needs good local leadership too. So I will always be involved and around. I hope he doesn't call me up to go to all of the events and all of the election day cycle stuff. I'm actually happy.
You need a break.
It was funny. The Facebook memories came up and the picture of you and I right after the vote came, and my eyes are just black from the sweat. And I guess like my mascara had dripped, and I'm like, this strange person. But I mean, that's the state of a lot of our facilities. They can't hold air conditioning. So I was happy this one they could. But it was a nice, peaceful, united transfer. And I think that our committee people are well aware of what they're being asked to do as well. And there's some committee races coming up next June. So people will be very, hyper concerned on what's going on in Trenton in regards to Hudson.
The new chairman didn't waste any time upon obviously taking office in terms of sort of pushing Stephen Fulop out there as a potential gubernatorial candidate in 2025. I have to tell you, Amy, again, and my rocky relationship with Stephen Fulop. I mean, I can be objective here. Certainly a 3-term mayor, a guy with a lot of political capital, but right nearby in Newark, it seems like they're polishing that crown for Mayor Ross Baraka. And we'll see what happens this November with Representative Mikey Sherrill. I think she's in for the fight of her life with Paul DeGroot in that congressional district. But it just seems like a lot of stars are aligning for Mayor Ross Baraka out of Newark coming up to 2025. I know Stephen Fulop wants to throw his name in there. It seemed like Chairman Veneri kind of put the cart before the horse there when he made that statement. I'm not sure if Stephen kind of cringed or was like, oh, Jesus Christ, like kind of like pump the brakes on a little bit. Do you think that, listen, I know Anthony personally. I know he's up to the challenge like you mentioned. I agree with you. And in this election climate, let's be fair, Hudson County is as blue as Windex. We know that Rob Menendez overwhelmingly won on primary day. He'll win this November. He'll be the U.S. representative in the 8th Congressional District. But people like Rob aren't going to have a problem. Next door in Bergen County, kind of a middle-of-the-road, pragmatic guy. Next door to him, Bill Pascrell, kind of a career politician. Seems like his seat is safe. You go a little central in South Jersey, though, Amy. Maybe not Chairman Veneri, but other county chairs are going to have a problem because let's be fair, okay? And I'm objective. Aside from all the memes I throw out there on social media and all my little commentary, there's an optic out there, okay? Short of 2002 with George W. Bush, who, again, Republicans had the House, kept it, and added seats. In 1934, under FDR, Democrats had the House, kept it, and added seats. That doesn't seem to be the case every midterm cycle. We started in 2010, right? The House, next on this, maybe comfortable. Like, okay, Democrats won the House in 2018, picked up some Senate seats, kind of made President Trump's life a little uncomfortable. It seems like history is going to repeat itself where this November, a red wave is coming. We're seeing a lot of House seats going red nationally, maybe not up here in Hudson County, but statewide, it seems like Democrats are vulnerable, Amy. What type of challenge do you think county chairs are going to have in Central South Jersey to keep what I would argue are 3 House seats that are going to flip red in about 5 months?
Yeah, and if you think about it, we just got them the last election cycle. Yeah. We the blue wave. I'm losing 2020 was that? I guess 2 years ago. So they were
2018. Well, 2018 Democrats won the House, and then they won some Senate seats and took over the Senate by it's basically 50-50 now. But yeah. Yeah.
So it's still fairly new and fragile, especially in those areas that you named, and up here, I know we're blue and blue, but voter turnout is really important. That translates into your armor going down to the Capitol, and bringing back resources. So voter turnout is incredibly important. So it's hard in places like Essex and Passaic and Hudson County, where a lot of Democrats say, oh, the person I like is going to win anyway. And, they don't really feel like they have to be attached to it, but they do. In the places in South and Central Jersey, you're going to have battles. You're going to have battles between, radical Republican and radical Democrats and more moderate Republican and Democrats. So you have some in-party fighting, and then you're going to have the battles in November. So it's, the chairs have an incredible task ahead of them to build a platform that feels inclusive of everyone, that, feels like, they've been able to make compromises and, bring new people in and build up, their party, but also energize their base too. And, there are some areas that are going to be really, really difficult, and so Hudson is here to help. We want a strong voter turnout. We're working for that too. But, we probably are going to end up helping some of those other counties, because the midterm elections, and I've said it before, like the pendulum, it just swings back and forth. People, pay attention.
Well, I mean, again, here in Hudson County, I mean, I don't just say because Rob's a friend of mine. And, we'll obviously have to have that dinner, that birthday dinner that I'm looking forward to, by the way, with the three of us. But, Rob's, again, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Pragmatic, like his dad, kind of, Democrat, no, doesn't apologize for that, but not crazy left. And I think because Hudson County is a very blue collar, working class, pragmatic Democrat type of area. Again, across the river in New York and Queens, we got the Puerto Rican princess who's insufferable, AOC. That's not what Rob Menendez caters to. Rob caters to being a pragmatist, filling some very big shoes, which we'll get to in a second. A guy that I think is reasonable. Okay, we might disagree on some policy things, but Rob Menendez Jr. again is one of those Democrats that doesn't come across as woke and crazy left and all that. I think that's where Hudson County Dems can feel comfortable. We're like, okay, we're not, Queens and the Bronx with AOC, or in Minneapolis with, Ilhan Omar and some of these crazy radical leftists. I think Rob Menendez Jr. kind of following suit with who he's going to be succeeding, Albio Sires, who, again, I know Albio personally. A lot of chatter about what's going to happen in 2023 with him in his hometown of West New York. But, I mean, listen, this is a guy who dedicated his life to public service. I don't have a bad thing to say about Albio Sires. He's a friend of mine, a guy who's always talked to me, been very, very gentleman with me, willing to give interviews when he has to, always been gracious with me. What are your memories of Albio Sires as as his time in the U.S. House of Representatives is coming to a close?
We have a really good relationship. I've known him prior to being chair. My father and him went to St. Peter's College together, and Albio was a much better basketball player, but they have, their basketball days that they would reminisce about. But I remember even in leading up to the chairmanship, there was an election in West New York, and we were out there campaigning. And he's the type of guy that walks door to door. He knew business owners. He knew, he was showing me where he had grown up and where he hung out. And he's such like a natural person that, and that came off. And I think that was a strong suit of his in resident response and dealing with constituents and keeping his office open to the public. And he did a tremendous job. And he's always a mentor. He always knew the right thing to say and how to root something on. He's funny, and he doesn't take himself or anything else too seriously. And I do consider him a progressive. And I consider Rob, even more of a progressive. But I think it's their attitude and their tone that they go about things, that they're able to have conversations with people. Like you're saying, like, hey, we don't agree on everything, but you know what? He's a nice guy, and like dealt with me well, looked me in the eye, was honest with me, researched. And I think Rob carries that same character. He's such a regular person. It was so funny because he worked his butt off, and during this cycle, he was walking and out there every day. And we would leave places and people would say, like, wow, like he's a very normal person. Like they thought he was going to be like this robot or not understand anything. So I think that he'll carry that. And he understood that Albio's strong suit of bringing resources was dealing with constituents head on, making sure he knew who was calling the office and going there. What were their concerns? Were they addressed? I think Rob is going to have that same attitude.
I don't disagree at all. Again, I know Rob personally, and I think he's a guy that, listen, the word progressives, I think, is really, really kind of ambiguous lately because, one person's progressive is one person's radical. I mean, as you mentioned, and on both sides of the aisle. I mean, I consider myself a pretty big fiscal conservative, but I think on social issues I can be reasonable. But it just seems though, Amy, like it's such a time of tribalism that we're living in, which, and again, before I let you go, I know you got a long day, but real quick here, it seems that Democrats again, they're in the majority, slim majorities in the House and the U.S. Senate. It seems like history is coming this November. It's a big red wave. It could be disastrous for the president right now, who, whether it's what's going on with the economy or riding a bicycle, it seems like everything's going wrong for the president. But Amy, you're a dedicated Democrat. You come from a long lineage of pragmatic, working class, blue collar Democrats. Are Democrats moving too far to the left on a national level? And does this spell doom in a year where it seems like everything is right there for Republicans? But again, they could easily fumble the ball at the goal line because they've done it. But do you think Democrats are also moving too far left and shooting themselves in the foot too?
No, I think that we may be prioritizing or highlighting things that could be considered radical. And we need to talk more about what we're doing for working families, because that's what Democrats do, supporting unions and fighting the good fight. And, things like Medicare for all or free college tuition, those could be seen as tough pills to swallow. But I think that there are some Democrats that are really able to outline the research of what kind of investment that makes, and in the long run, the costs that get cut when you're able to supply these things. I know one thing that Rob, was working on during his campaign, looking into research on childcare costs and how, to subsidize that. Being a father of one, almost two, his wife is, happily pregnant. And I think that is a radical idea, but when you present it in a way with research and that it's an investment that can actually cut tax dollars in the long run and really help the economy, I think that those are better arguments. I think sometimes our media grabs and latches onto things that are a little bit more, kind of sexy and crazy,
I agree with you. And folks, it's 7:39 here on the East Coast. We're about to wrap up here shortly with Councilwoman at Large in Jersey City, Amy DeGise, here join us on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Amy, real quick, let's get back to Jersey City here. Your job on the council. Big topic here. Obviously, we know that dispensaries are opening up all over New Jersey. Recreational cannabis has been in the spotlight, right? There's some controversy in Hoboken, in the Moscow City, about who potentially could be owning a dispensary, where it should be located. What are you hearing in Jersey City on the council? Again, it's such a densely populated city. You have to be careful where you're going to put a dispensary. You can't put it near a school, right? It's kind of interesting. Liquor stores can be near schools, but not a dispensary. Go figure, right? However, that's a debate for another day. But what are you hearing right now about what is the most pragmatic solution to what ultimately is going to create enormous revenue for Jersey City? It could benefit our schools. It could benefit projects that maybe, hey, you don't have to raise taxes if this revenue stream comes into fruition. What are you hearing among your council colleagues as to what's going to be the most pragmatic solution about recreational cannabis in Jersey City?
I think a lot of the council members are paying attention to the Cannabis Control Board that Jersey City has, which was a great initiative to kind of have its own body to go through for an approval and to go through some of these important things. The one thing that seems to be repeating is, if this is going to be so profitable for Jersey City, how is that money coming back into the community? So, and I went to one of the Cannabis Control Board meetings. It was a great meeting. Their testimonies are fully public. Members of the public are allowed to ask questions. I hope more people are engaged and go to them. They're widely publicized. They're offered once a month. But a lot of it was, well, what community organizations are you tied to that you're going to help? And they're really focused on helping with expungement, helping to revitalize, parts of the community that could have been harmed by, being arrested for marijuana sales or usage. They want to know, where are you going to put this money that's going to help the community? What nonprofits, what other agencies, what workforce development are you offering? Do you have credentials for your employees? Are you going to be hiring people that were formerly arrested? And I think that has become the priority. It's not about, let's make sure it's big, beautiful, and in neon signs, or let's, hide everybody away from it. It's, what is the community getting from this, and how are you going to prevent community harm? Because it's not just going to be Jersey City residents coming here. It's going to be, New Yorkers coming over, or people from other counties. How are you going to make sure that they safely get their product and then leave, that they're not loitering, that they're not causing problems, that other businesses and stores aren't negatively affected? And I think, and this is an educator too, you can always get a little looser on your hold. You can never get stricter in a classroom. All right. So you let them go have mayhem one day, you're never grabbing them back. So I think Jersey City, they want to ask a lot of questions, and they want to have really stringent rules around this, because you can always lighten up. But this first round, it seems like it's going to be strict. I was in the last board meeting. They saw 3 applications, and the first one took an hour and a half. But they were all really good questions, really good feedback. The chair, Brittany Bunny, she actually tabled one and saying, I think other groups need to talk to each other. You haven't spoken to each other enough. I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying no. I'm saying you guys collaborate and then come back to us, which I thought was a really fair request.
Amy, you said it perfectly there. It's definitely a topic and an issue to keep an eye out for in the next few weeks and months, because like the budget being signed in Jersey City, this is an issue that's not going to go away. Obviously, it'll be on the council agenda, and you're going to be sitting there having to listen to what I'm sure are some very entertaining public hearings. As they say, those 5 minutes may seem like an eternity to everyone on the council when they have to sit through that. So I don't envy you. I applaud you for what you're doing again, and thank you so much for coming here on this show. I know you become a regular. I am your favorite conservative, so I appreciate that, and certainly I am someone that is always delighted to have you on this show. We can have great conversations. We come from 2 very sort of different ideological spectrums, but we can always meet in the middle, and I would say have informative and very constructive dialogue, which I'm always grateful for. So I appreciate coming on here. I'll give you the last word here on Real Talk.
No, thank you for having me. Everyone out there watching and listening, don't just watch things like this. Stay engaged. Keep going to these meetings, these hearings, and ask questions, and we'll talk about it. We'll dissect it for you if you don't know it.
That's right. And let's go Yankees. Hopefully maybe a Subway series in October. And it'll be very interesting in the DeGise household when dad and daughter got to go at it during the Subway series. We'll find a lot of baseball to be played, but it's looking good right now, Amy.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it as well. Folks, she is Amy DeGise, councilman at large in Hudson County's largest city, which is Jersey City. And again, she's our guest this week here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Amy, God bless you. Stay healthy. And we'll figure out that dinner with Rob Jr. soon enough, okay? Talk to you soon.
Yes, give us some dates.
I will. Have a great night. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care. Folks, great show here with Amy DeGise, and certainly, again, a freshman councilwoman in Jersey City at large. And listen, she's been rolling up her sleeves and certainly getting to work after winning last November. So kudos to her. And she's been a great guest, not just on this show, but also on my weekly podcast in Hudson County via blogtalkradio.com/talkingthehudson. Coincidentally, she'll be my guest this week on Talking the Hudson. We'll have that episode online later tomorrow, so you definitely want to tune in on blogtalkradio.com/talkingthehudson. We'll make the episode available tomorrow evening, so definitely tune in from any PC, Mac, smartphone, or tablet. And of course, the episode is free to listen to anywhere at any time. Again, tune into that. Of course, folks, make sure you share Real Talk with Fernando Uribe, tonight's episode with Amy DeGise, councilwoman at large in Jersey City. Folks, before I let you go here, yes, it's that time of the program where, you know what, I'm going to do something a little different first, because I feel that, a lot of people say, Fernando, you're not a nice guy. You're not out here making friends. But you know what? I challenge that notion, because you know what? I'm going to do my good Christian deed for the day. I'm going to be that good Christian. I'm going to be that good Samaritan and that good journalist by looking out for another journalist. Folks, don't sweat it. The worst journalist of the week in New Jersey is coming up in a moment. But I wanted to try to extend an olive branch to a journalist who I hold in considerable regard. And she is Sophie Nieto Munoz. Okay. Now, let me be very clear about something. Okay. Because I've read Sophie's columns for some time. She's an exceptional journalist. Okay. I want to make sure I'm clear, because so nobody can take it out of context and all the haters want to spew their nonsense. She's writer. I mean, she's really nice to look at, as you can tell by me. I mean, respect, nice to look at, Sophie. But again, you're concerned that you're kind of going down this rabbit hole of being a little whiny in your reporting. And a column that just came out last week that you published sort of caught my eye. And folks, you can check it out at the NewJerseyMonitor.com. And a shout out to Terrence McDonald, a guy who I consider a friend, a guy who was an exceptional journalist in his own right, grew up here in Hudson County, sort of cutting his teeth with the Jersey Journal. Again, congratulations to him now being the editor-in-chief of the New Jersey Monitor. I read it daily. It's great. But there was a column here last week by Sophie that sort of caught my eye. And it was titled, Governor Murphy faces Democratic roadblocks to passing new abortion measures. Now, she goes on to write, after legislative losses last November that thinned the Democratic majority in the legislature to its narrowest in years, Murphy has to wrangle a caucus. It's difficult for him to follow through on his pledge to sign a new slew of new abortion bills into law. It's not just Senate President Nicholas Scutari who stands in the way. The Union County Democrat, who controls what bills the Senate votes on ultimately, indicate to Political New Jersey in May. So, an access bill could prevent any more expensive. She calls out was Mercer Democrat Wayne D'Angelo, who told the New Jersey Monitor he generally supports a woman's right to choose and wants Roe v. Wade to stand. Now, the landmark 1973 U.S. Supreme Court decision legalized abortion nationwide, and the court is expected to overturn it later this summer. But D'Angelo said he doesn't understand why New Jersey needs to do more than it has already on abortion rights. Quote, is this just smoke and mirrors and grandstanding? Are we just trying to make someone else look good or bad, you know? I'd rather just stick to good government, he said. Well, Sophie, he's right. And I think a lot of other Democrats are trying to be pragmatic here, okay? Listen, I understand that a few months ago when it was reported by Political New Jersey and obviously other news outlets that the conservative majority in the Supreme Court was going to overturn Roe versus Wade. Folks, again, the history professor here, let me give you a little history lesson. It's not going to end abortion, ladies and gentlemen. It's just going to relegate it to the states. Okay? Now, again, look behind me. Okay? See those books there? Again, not just my books from undergrad, but also from graduate school. There's a couple copies of the U.S. Constitution there, right? In the Bill of Rights, there's something called the 10th Amendment. Federalism. Okay? That's all that's going to happen. It's going to be relegated to the states. But all we've heard for months now has been the insufferable feminists in New Jersey, the tip stink campus, I said, the cat. You could snap this down the block. Okay? That's how egregious it is. All we've heard for months now is these activists bitching and moaning about, oh my God, abortion's coming in. No. Folks, it's not coming to an end. It's just going to be relegated to the states. What I found really funny these last few months is, again, these feminists and these cat ladies who stink of cat piss bitching and moaning about not being able to abort babies in states that they don't live in. That's how myopic this argument's becoming. Okay? But let me get back to the article here. And Sophie, again, you're doing a good job reporting on this. But I'm glad you mentioned this column, and I'm glad you mentioned some of D'Angelo's words here because they matter. Okay? Here in New Jersey, folks, here's a news flash for all the cat ladies. Okay? Abortion is readily accessible. There are a plethora of Planned Parenthood offices throughout the state of New Jersey. Okay? So for women out there in New Jersey, your right to be able to get an abortion is not infringed upon. So again, some of them in the end, he's out. And of course, Republicans too. Sophie, you got to be fair here. You got to report on that and say that, yes, he's correct. Now, again, what the governor is trying to do is just grandstand here and say, well, I want to make sure reproductive freedom isn't infringed upon in New Jersey. How has it ever been? Getting an abortion in New Jersey is as easy as it can be. Okay? I mean, take your pick. So for any woman that gets knocked up tomorrow and wants to reconsider her pregnancy, getting an abortion isn't difficult. Okay? Or for the plethora of drunken women, right, over the summer, right? It's single girl summer, right? And after a weekend of drunken debauchery, right? Plan B, that's a Dwayne Reed. You CVS, right? Single Girl Summer, right? Summer 2022. Hey, you know, whatever, down the shore, wherever. Okay. Why are you still bitching and moaning, folks, about reproductive freedom? You have it here in New Jersey. But again, folks, that's where the left in New Jersey represents the left nationally. They're never happy. They live to bitch and they bitch to live. And again, when you report on this, Sophie, I'm glad you are. And I'm glad, again, no disrespect. Great column, informative. And I know where your politics are. I know where you lean. That's not my issue here. Okay? But please be careful. I don't want you to fall into that rabbit hole that we see with other journalists in New Jersey who are just absolutely awful, who love to play on this hysteria, right? We got Uncle Dave with NJPBS, right? We got Ali Steinberg and Bobby Hennelly with Insider NJ. We got Maxi Pizarro, right? Like those insufferable little bitches over there, okay? Not to mention the most insufferable of all the little bitches in New Jersey, little JJ Lassiter, who again likes to engage in this hysteria. Sophie, you're too good for this, okay? I've read your columns for years now. You are a talented journalist, okay? Keep doing what you're doing, but don't really give too much credence to this stuff. And I'm afraid of you falling down that rabbit hole and start becoming like Maxie and Bob and Booby and Ali and little JJ, right? Those, the Lollipop Guild. I don't want you to do it because you're an exceptional journalist. Okay, keep reporting. But also, to put this in perspective, reproductive freedom is no danger in New Jersey. Woman gets knocked up, she can see with for a couple weeks, okay? You know, ladies, over this summer, single girl summer, you have your drunken weekends, plan B, you can get it right away. So again, folks, no one's reproductive freedoms are under attack. No one's reproductive freedoms are in danger, especially here in New Jersey. So again, Sophie, great job that you're doing. Keep up the good work, but just please be careful. Don't fall down that rabbit hole. You're too good of a journalist to start becoming like those insufferable pieces of garbage that I just mentioned before, which have become absolutely useless in the New Jersey media landscape. So again, keep up the good work, but please be careful. Don't fall into that trap. You're too good of a journalist for that. And from one exceptional journalist to another, I'm just extending the olive branch and making sure that you stay on the right path like you are. Now, speaking of useless and down the wrong path, folks, this week's winner of the worst journalist in New Jersey, he's a repeat winner. Yes, it's boy Tommy Moran. Yes, the useless editor-in-chief of the editorial page at the Star Ledger. Folks, we all know that the Star Ledger is not worth the paper it's printed on. If you have expensive china, if you have expensive silverware and you're moving, right? It's June. Maybe you find a new place on July 1st. I get it. If you have that expensive vase that your grandma or your grandfather gave you for your Sweet 16 or on your wedding day, buy the Star Ledger and wrap it, take it and wrap it around what you buy, what you have there, because that's all it's good for, right? Or if you have expensive silverware, buy the Star Ledger and wrap it up, and have it there so you can relocate it when you move, because that's all that paper is good for. But of course, Tommy Boy never disappoints, again, as he is this week's winner of the worst journalist of the week. So there were two columns that caught my attention from Tommy Boy, and one last week titled, "Our Crazy, Stupid Love for Guns." I love this one. He starts off this atrocious piece of garbage journalism. American agreement. Let me just be clear. If it wasn't for 18-year-old American boys with guns, they'd still be speaking German in Paris. Okay? So, for all you history buffs out there, obviously the French surrendered rather easily to the German forces during World War II. And if it wasn't for Americans, staying up for Western Europe against the Nazis, yeah, they'd still be speaking German in France. So kind of put that in there in your brain, Tommy, and remember that. But if you look to the public, America is a more reasonable place. Most Americans want stricter gun laws. That's not true, Tommy. I don't know what poll you're going by. If it's a CNN and MSNBC poll, well, I get it. You're one of the 15 viewers that CNN has, and you're one of the 19 viewers that MSNBC has. But regular Americans, maybe who live in densely populated areas, might disagree. Americans who live in more spacious rural areas who want to protect their homes are going to disagree even more. So why has Congress done nothing of substance about guns for a generation? And why is the measure that the Senate just produced, welcome as it is, so weak? Like, you sound surprised, Tommy. I'll tell you what's a surprise: your employment, because I don't know how you're keeping it, to be very honest with you. So, I mean, again, when you want to talk about surprises here, when it comes to gun laws or polls, again, your employment is a surprise to me, and I'm sure to many other people in New Jersey. But again, Tommy, when we talk about gun laws here in New Jersey, they're as strict as they come. And when New Jerseyans want to be able to protect themselves, they should have the right to do that. The governor, again, loves to sort of play on this hysteria that guns are a problem. It's not illegal. Folks, it's not legal gun owners. When you go to dumps like Patterson and Newark and Trenton and Camden and parts of Elizabeth, when you see armed robberies or gun violence, it's with illegal guns. But again, Tommy is so myopic that he forgets that, just like the drug war, right? We've been battling for 40 years. If you want to get high and you want to buy drugs, you'll know where to find them. Just like if you want to buy a gun illegally, Tommy, you know where to find it too. Maybe not where you live in the People's Republic of Montclair, where you're all nice and cozy and drinking your little cappuccino right in the morning, or going with your little cup and drinking, your ultra mega cappuccino, frappuccino with soy milk, latte, milk, almond milk, whatever. Yeah, maybe in that People's Republic of Communist Montclair, yeah, maybe gun laws or gun rights aren't very important. But to the rest of New Jersey, where that matters. And responsibly be infringed upon. But that's the problem. Focus on these things in your column. I get it. You're as left as it pertains to New Jersey journalism. I respect that. We all know that. This is not a surprise. Again, I'm not surprised by this. I'm surprised by your ongoing employment, but that's a topic for another day. But when you publish garbage like this, all you're making people think is, well, you don't care about responsible gun ownership, which exists, Tom. Yes, we've had some unfortunate incidents for years now. But guess what? All of this stuff is done because criminals don't want to obey laws. You can have the strictest gun laws in the country, like in Chicago, but guess what? Every weekend, dozens of black kids are getting killed in Chicago with illegal guns. And there's gun control there. So what's your answer to that, Tommy? Aren't there strict gun laws in New Jersey? Well, why are kids getting mowed down and murdered in Patterson or in Newark or in parts of Jersey City? I mean, Tommy, I get it. You're almost 80 years old, or you're in your mid-80s. I get it. Cognitively, you're like the president who can't even ride a bicycle for the love of Christ. I get it. Maybe cognitively you're kind of, declining. Tommy, it's not that hard to figure out. Responsible gun owners are not the problem. It's trying to make sure that we get guns out of criminals' hands. And that's always a challenge. But you don't want to talk about that. You'd rather just vilify responsible gun owners. So that's that one. Then you write a column, again, yesterday on Father's Day, right? I guess you don't have much to do on Father's Day. I mean, why celebrate you? But you write the cowardice of Tom Kean Jr. in democracy's moment of peril. Oh, this was great. You wrote, Senator Tom Kean is running for Congress without saying a word, no doubt hoping voters will look at that last name, think of his dad, and assume that he can be trusted to do the right thing. But his hard silence about Donald Trump's efforts to steal the 2020 election is tough to swallow, even for those of us who revere his dad, the former governor. Here's a good one, because you sound like from Insider NJ, two other clowns. Because American democracy is being tested, and the crew that tried to steal the last election seems determined to try again if they lose in 2024. The January 6th committee, the Lollipop Guild, the clown show, right? Who, by the way, yesterday, the ratings were so bad on MSNBC that they switched over to golf, okay? That's how bad the ratings have been for this garbage committee. They had to switch to golf. My God, I think I'd rather watch you paint, Tommy. Now, the January 6th committee is exposing the plot in full color. Oh my God, the hysteria continues. With Republican witnesses describing how the violence at the Capitol was just the bloody tip of the spear. The larger political and legal campaign was stopped only by a handful of principled Republicans like Mike Pence, who fled the mob trying to kill him just 40 feet away. So he talks about this, and of course he mentions his Democratic opponent, Representative Tom Malinowski, predicts that Kaine will be forced to break his silence as pressure builds during the campaign. He noted that Kaine has refused comment even when asked if he agrees with the resolution of the RNC describing the January 6th riot as a legitimate political discourse. Now, Malinowski said, quote, he'll be in a debate with me and someone will ask him about that. He'll say it was not legitimate discourse and accept that Biden is the president. He'll say it in a muffled voice when he has no way to weasel out of it. But that doesn't matter now. He's missed every opportunity to be a leader. He also goes on to say Kaine is not the only Republican playing this game. His selective bias is spreading like a virus among congressional candidates in swing districts who fear alienating Trump voters on one hand or those of us who believe in democracy on the other. Tom, I believe in democracy. I just don't believe in the farce that you want to believe in. Because never went, and I decided last week when I was watching some pro wrestling, I decided to scroll through muckrack.com, right? Which is sort of like the easiest archives to locate when it comes to journalists and what they've written. And I don't remember once, Tommy, during the summer of 2020, that you wrote about the billions of dollars in damages across the country where hundreds of police officers were injured, where businesses were vandalized, looted, public and private buildings were vandalized and destroyed. We saw a police station in Minneapolis. Notwithstanding that Minneapolis is a dump, but that police station was burned to the ground. Not once did you write anything about this because you were probably one of those woke white people that were all about, the summer of public discourse and peaceful protests because we have to honor a career criminal like George Floyd. Guess what? I looked through the archives and not once did I see an article from you calling out or even wanting hearings in Washington about holding these people accountable or those city governments accountable about why they allow these cities to burn to the ground. But you want to make a hissy fit about January 6th during this election cycle. You know what you talk about this election cycle, Tommy? You know what we should be talking about? Up in price. You can see the display behind me, everything from President's Watch, okay? Just like the bicycle that he rode into the ground this weekend, he's riding the economy into the ground. Why don't you write about that, Tommy? Oh, that's right. Oh my God. It seems that so many journalists in New Jersey struggle with, right? Not just you. I don't want to pick on you, Tommy, because you're not just the only journalist that lacks integrity, right? We got the clowns at Insider NJ. We got clowns at NJPBS. We got clowns everywhere, okay? I'm the only journalist with any integrity. Yeah, I don't struggle with that four-syllable word, okay? To talk about issues that matter this election cycle. Tommy, no one cares about January 6th. Nobody does. People care about filling up their gas tanks. Maybe not you because you make a nice salary sitting on your ass at home writing garbage columns. So to you, the struggles of regular everyday New Jerseyans and Americans, who cares? You'll be at Starbucks drinking a little cappuccino like this, That's you at Starbucks probably. I can almost envision you sitting there drinking your cappuccino that way with your leg crossed and sort of, looking at your iPhone and everything in your certain Tommy Moran way. The issues I talk about on this show, that's what matters, okay? The ratings for this farce of a committee have been a joke, just like your outcry, just like your fake outrage, just like Alan Steinberg's outrage, who is fixated on this, just like Bobby Hennelly, just like Maxie Pizarro, just like little JJ Lassiter, all of you clowns have been fixated on this. And what's really interesting, Tom, is that you're like 80-something years old. I get it cognitively, you're Tommy, you need to do better. But for whatever reason, cycle. What matters to New Jerseyans and Americans is filling up their gas tanks. The president announced today that he might be considering rolling back the gas tax. You old fool. You shouldn't even wait for the end of the week. You should be doing this now when Americans are paying more than $5 a gallon. I mean, did you hit your head that hard on the pavement when you rode a bicycle into the ground? I mean, Jesus Christ. But again, I don't want to blame the president completely. I want to blame the media for enabling this, for not reporting on this. Okay? You see the numbers behind me? That's what you should be talking about, Tommy. Not this farce of January 6th. Because And thank God when Republicans win the House in November, they're going to shut down this committee. And I don't have to hear about you or Alan Steinberg or Bobby Henley, all the other clowns in New Jersey media that are still fixing. Like, I can imagine all of you blowing a load in your pants about January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. And all of a sudden, like the ejaculation that comes out of your pants is like it's splashing everywhere. You are grown-ass men having a fixation about January 6th. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Okay? Tommy, you're in your 80s. Other journalists are in their 70s. And you're still even 80s or 90s. And you're having a fixation about things that don't matter this election cycle. You should be ashamed of yourself, Tommy. And that's why, unequivocally, you are the worst journalist of the week in the state of New Jersey. I'm pretty sure this won't be the last time I nominate you and award you the prize, because you give me material every single time you publish a column, just like everybody else does in the New Jersey media landscape. But you know what? I'm a gentleman. I'm a scholar. I'm an academic. I'm an award-winning journalist. I'm an award-winning philanthropist. I can be a man who can take the high road. I'm a man that can solidarity. So you know what? Since you're all fixated on January the 6th, you know what? I'm going to come on support, because we too should remember January the 6th. Yes, let's remember January the 6th. At least this January the 6th, because folks, this is the only January the 6th that really matters right now in this election cycle. It's a shame that Tommy Boy, Maxie Pizarro, Ali Steinberg, Booby Henley, JJ Lassiter, it's a shame that, you know what, you got a lot of years on me in this business, and I've figured it out this election cycle. Why can't you? It's amazing to me. If anything, again, what's amazing is all of your employment. And that's our show for this week. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank once again at-large councilwoman in Jersey City, Amy DeGise, for joining me here on this program. She's always a wonderful guest, a fellow member of the Evil Empire. And certainly, folks, if you're just tuning in now, it's 8:11 here on the East Coast. You can watch the program in its entirety right after we go off. You can check it out on my book. Also on the Jersey First YouTube page, as the episode is there in its entirety, free of charge to watch. Please do me a favor. Sharing is caring. Share it on your social media and show the support that, again, thousands of people are showing every single week for Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. Folks, check out the Jersey First website, www.jerseyfirst.org. That's jersey1st.org. Also, make sure you like them on Facebook and follow them on both Instagram and Twitter. Check out my own Instagram and Twitter, same handle, @NoFilterUribe. And, of course, make sure you like me on Facebook, Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. Also, make sure you follow me on Facebook. Folks, you can't mistake me. I'm that handsome guy with the Biden Sucks t-shirt there. Again, all handsome looking. You can't mistake me for anybody else. Follow me there on Facebook. I think I'm almost at my friend's capacity, but check me out there as well, folks. Share the episode when you can. I can't say enough about how grateful I am to all of you, once again, for supporting the show the way that you do. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it is always Real Talk right here with Jersey First TV. Always, I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist. As you can tell, folks, I'm running out of room here in this house with all these awards. You know, it's just, they keep coming. I'm also the top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit Online magazine for 2020, 2021, and 2022. Once again, folks, I'm running out of room here with the amount of awards that are just coming in. And certainly, in states beloved and factual Fernando Uribe saying, so long, let's go Yankees. Have a great rest of your week. We will return next Monday night at 6 p.m. time here on Jersey First TV, so you don't want to miss that. We'll be live on Facebook Live, via streaming, and also on the Jersey First TV YouTube page. Folks, have a great rest of your week. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, God bless you all, and thank you so much for watching.